Okay, so stage one is about how do we plan and prepare to legitimise the call. Let's just stop there for a minute. Let me ask you this. What do you understand by this term legitimise? So when I say plan and prepare to legitimise the call, what does legitimise mean in that context?
Make sure that they know where you're actually phoning from. Make sure it's clear that you're phoning from every year.
Yeah, okay. And this is also about being clear of what can you say to the client so that the client knows you're not a cold caller.
You contacted us personally.
Yeah. How many of them remember that when you first talked to them? Yeah? Some do, some don't. Yeah? And so this whole thing about legitimising the call is being ready to say to the client, no, you contacted us by responding to this thing you saw in the magazine or this thing you saw in the newspaper. You filled out a coupon. You phoned us on our free phone number. So it's about actually having a look at records and getting some background information so that when you talk to the client, in the first few seconds, you're going to say something to them that makes them realise you're not just a cold caller. You're not just a window company who's got their phone number out of the local library. You know, you are someone that's legitimate. You're legitimate in actually making the call to them. So in a minute we're going to have a look in a bit more detail at things that we can do to help us plan and prepare to legitimise the call. Then we're going to start talking about getting the right person. In a type 3 client situation, who do you think the right person is that you want to speak to? Okay, all right. So there's some mixed views here. So getting the right person is about recognising: is this a type 1? Is this a type 1 client, type 2 client, type 3 client? And if it's a type 3 client, you want the right person is the person that made the inquiry. If it's a type 2 client, the right person is the person that has the hearing problem. If it's a type 1 client, it's the person that actually wears the hearing aids. There's type 1 clients who are easy, they're existing clients, so they're the hearing aid user. Type 2 clients, the right person will be the person that has the difficulty. Type 3 clients will be the person that made the inquiry, who's probably not going to be the person with the hearing problem. Why do you think I say that? Why do you think I say that it's the person that made the inquiry? Yeah, the other person's in denial, and if we get through to the person that's in denial and we say, I'm ringing you today from Hidden Hearing because you've inquired, they will say, no I didn't, I haven't got a problem, I've got no concerns, go away. Yeah. And so we need to be speaking to the person that's actually made the inquiry. Somewhere in here we've got gatekeepers, because gatekeepers will try and stop us getting to the right person. So this is the section where we're going to cover how we get past the gatekeepers. Part 3 is having a good, strong opening statement. So number 3 is about having a good, strong opening statement so that when you speak to the client, they immediately recognise who you are, why you're calling, and the call is important to them. Then we're going to have some interaction. And one of the things we're going to be talking about this morning is how do you interact and get a conversation going with the client. Now, how many of you have done the ITC course before? Some of you have done the ITC course?
Yeah, you all have, apart from Chris and...
Okay, all right. Chris says you all have. All right. So...
It's when we was at the hotel that's now shut.
Oh, that. You just said that.
Yeah.
You haven't, no. Okay. So as part of some previous training, you might have seen something called the conversation cycle. Yeah. Yeah, little wheel thing with arrows on it. Is it? Okay. All right. So we're going to have a look here at how we take that as an idea and take it to its next stage. Okay, so we're going to have a look at how do we get this conversation going with the client. But part of that interaction has to be to get their emotions working. Okay, because you can have a conversation with somebody that doesn't pull on their heartstrings and pull on their emotions, or you can have a conversation with someone that does start to get an emotional attachment. And do you remember how we're going to get emotional attachment? Spring, push the spring down. And what are we going to use to do that?
Negative words.
Negative emotional words, yeah. I can't imagine how awful that must be for you. It's terrible. That'd make me suicidal if I was in that position. You're not going to use that one. You're not going to use that. Yeah. And of course, another one that you wouldn't say to the client, that must be like living with a death sentence. I wonder how they'd hear that. Yeah, okay. But this is about actually pushing the spring down, we talked about yesterday, pushing the emotions right down, and using those negative words that we talked about yesterday. And then what we're going to do is we're going to present them with some help. Okay, then when I say we're going to present something to them, you've only really got one thing that you're going to present. What are you going to present to them? An appointment. Okay, so almost whatever happens in the interaction, at some point you want to offer them, present to them a date and a time to have an appointment for a hearing test. And once they say yes to that, then we're going to close it off. We're going to close the call by confirming, doing all that good stuff, and then we're going to do whatever it is that we then have to do. Put it in the system, do paperwork, confirm things, send out confirmation letters, whatever it is that we have to do, we're going to take that action after we've closed that off. So we've got 6 really basic steps. And it's not about having a script, it's not about even having a structure, it's just about recognising that in all of the calls we're going to make, there are 6 steps that we're going to go through with each of our calls.